So I was really happy to attend this workshop. So I'm Sofie Vandewoestijne from the European Commission, DG Research and Innovation from the Climate and Environment Department within Research and Innovation. So you heard one of my colleagues this morning, yesterday morning. And actually, I think it's really interesting for several reasons, but very egocentric reason is that we're, in our department, we're promoting what we call a nature-based solution, a research and innovation agenda for nature-based solutions, which are actually trying to increase or introduce nature and natural processes into areas to be able to increase the benefits, both environmental, both societal, and also economic. So when I heard some of the questions that were asked in some of the sessions yesterday, like for example, in the session I attended on health, the link between health and nature, the question was, why are we obliged to prove that this is a good solution, that nature and health is maybe a good solution, or in some cases maybe a better solution than more traditional or pharmaceutical, for example, things. And exactly we're facing the same questions. We have to prove that nature-based solutions is can be in many cases a more adequate, more sustainable in any case solution than more existing and current mainstreamed kinds of solutions. And so maybe I can just pick out some of the points I've heard that I think are, when with us evolving in the same kind of difficulties, that I think may be important for One Health to move forward also. It was already said, a kind of an identity, a common identity, a clear mission statement. What is One Health for? I think that is very important, and it's important that all of the community can adhere to that. So you can have a more general statement, and then of course more specifically for each of this highly complex system, different kinds of submission or other kinds of statements. Another thing that is really important, I think, is to have a common language. So for example, I've heard prevention used in very different kinds of meanings. For some people, prevention is vaccines. For others, it's a walk in the woods. Another thing that is extremely important is the communication, really working very hard on communicating and having a relatively coherent, if possible, messages to spread, and spreading it within science, within policy, within the society. So it's very important to include all. I've heard several times, and maybe I would just like to emphasize, so apart from that, is values were often discussed, and indeed for some types of sciences, cultural values or ways of believing, we were thinking about ways of thinking, ways of believing, values are really important, and I think we can say that even beyond the social science, this is a little maybe starting to become accepted. Indeed, I was at the conference last week of the Science Policy Interface, INCSA, the Global Network on Science Policy Interfaces, and there was a whole session on how to include society into the science policy interface, and the real conclusion that values, you no longer can only talk about evidence-based. Evidence-based is not only scientific, pure p-value things, it's also including the values, the socio-economic context in which things are taking place. So I think several points that are very worthwhile pursuing is the kind of a common framework. So we've heard that there's the cost network is developing this evaluation framework, and I think that is really, really important. So to avoid a quote I heard, sort of like woolly, fine-grained, nuanced data versus empirical data, and other kinds of evaluations beyond that. I think both bottom-up and top-down initiatives are necessary. So with our projects here, we are promoting or financing demonstration projects. So we're financing demonstration projects that absolutely need to take a transdisciplinary approach. Really getting the public involved, getting other societal actors, we heard business industry involved, and putting things into practice. We know the knowledge isn't perfect, but we have to show that what we already have can already have a big impact, and that will also help, I think, convince further on. And many of these demonstration projects are only starting now, but we realize it's very difficult also in evaluating these proposals, that we need interdisciplinary evaluation panels because they're extremely complex kinds of proposals. Maybe not to take up all the time. I have some more comments, but I will